Welcome to the Own Your Life podcast, where our goal is to help bring hope, healing, and peace by sharing our experiences and inspiring you to own your life.
Hey everybody, I want to let you know about an ebook that I wrote called Winning at All Costs. It tells about how earlier in my life I chose to win at my career above all else and damage the relationships that I had in my life, including my relationship with my wife and my son. It also tells about how I've turned it all around and how I learned to focus on what I value most in my life. You can get your copy now at ownyourlifeco.com/ebooks and on amazon.com. You won't want to miss this opportunity. Check it out today. And remember, own your life, because your life is your responsibility.
The Matrix is everywhere. It's all around us, here, even in this room. You can see it out your window or on your television. You feel it when you go to work or go to church or pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth. What truth? The truth you are a slave, Neo, that like you, everyone else, was born into bondage, kept inside a prison that you cannot smell, taste, or touch, a prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. How? Hold out your hands. This is your last chance. After this, there is no going back. You take the blue pill and the story ends. You wake up in your bed and you believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill and you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember that all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. This is from the scene in The Matrix where Neo and Morpheus are talking about taking the red pill or the blue pill and finding out the real truth of the world that they live in. And the reason that we wanted to share that with you today is we feel like, and we felt this way for years, not just in the crazy year of 2020, but we feel like it's very relevant, very accurate with what we are going through right now and what we have been going through. And welcome, everyone. I wanted to open up with that scene, but welcome to the Own Your Life podcast. We are on episode 19. Crazy to believe because we started in July and we've just been rolling along. So it's awesome. Thank you all for being here with us for the whole way. And if you're new, welcome. We appreciate you listening to us. And today we're going to be talking about owning your thoughts before your thoughts own you.
Yeah, I mean, I think in The Matrix, one thing that is just absolutely vital in that is that you're choosing the truth. I think that sometimes, especially in today's society and everything's gone on over the last few years, is that a lot of people aren't choosing the truth, no matter what the truth is, whether it's a truth in their life, truth in their business, truth at home, whatever that truth is. A lot of people want to run away from the truth and hide in the comfort of whatever lie they've been telling themselves. And I think that with The Matrix is one of those things that is kind of eye-opening in a lot of different ways with what that movie is and how everybody interacts in that movie. And I believe that a lot of times, even when you are self-aware enough to know the truth, you still choose sometimes the lie because it's easier for you to digest. And I know that I've done that multiple times in my life in multiple different scenarios. And I know that you have too as well with a lot of different things. 100%. So, I think that when you kind of realize that you have a tendency to bend that way, you always have to try and bring yourself back to what you know is the truth. And thinking about what you're trying to do is going to be the hardest part of all of it, because I think when you actually have an ability to sit down and analyze who you are, the truth about where you are is going to be two totally different things. And it's the hardest thing you'll ever have to do, because you will have to eventually stop feeding yourself the lie and actually bend towards the truth.
And I know that's definitely easier said than done. I'm sure some of you are thinking, wow, how do I know if I'm even thinking the truth or not? And it really comes down to self-awareness. It comes down to If you guys have someone in your life that is a mentor to you or somebody that you look up to that you know has been pretty consistent in their lives, that can be a resource for you to maybe bounce ideas off of to see if, am I lying to myself? Am I being delusional, or am I on the right path here? Am I thinking something that's true and accurate? I'm not going to say to Google it because there's a lot of fake things on the internet. Anybody can put whatever they want. So I would definitely not say to do that. I would say to go to a valid source, and that is not one of them. So I really think that would be my first step if I was in a spot where I didn't know, if I was thinking correctly or not. And obviously there's not one way to think about the truth. And we're not trying to go down a huge rabbit hole here, but the main thing is to own your thoughts before they own you. And how you can do that is, number one, is self-awareness for your thoughts is really what Matt said. You have to think about what you're thinking about, because if you catch yourself and you're thinking straight negative all day long, guess what? That's going to own you, and you're going to be negative for it. Maybe you've noticed lately, hey, I'm a little edgy. I'm a little bit more mean than normal. I'm just kind of short with people, and I don't like this. I don't like how I'm being. Maybe it's because of all the stress, because you can just literally feel the stress when you're out and about because of people that have high anxiety right now with everything going on in our nation. You can feel that, especially if you're paying attention to it, that it's definitely something to be aware of. And so many things we've said before in other podcasts, how to calm yourself down and how to, pick the right environment for you to be in so that you're not chasing, all these negative thoughts all day long. I think that's the first thing, is really just, what are you thinking about? Like, that's the first step. What are you thinking about? Is it positive, negative? Is it neutral? Can you change it? Is it something that you want to change? Like, how are you behaving? Maybe that's, because that's a byproduct. The way that we behave and act and what we say to other people, that's a byproduct of what we're thinking. So it all starts with the thoughts in our mind. And maybe you're thinking positive things, which is awesome. If you're thinking good things about yourself or good things about, your situations, your family, your job, whatever, that's awesome. Keep doing that. We need more of that in this world. We need people to think positively and to act that way and to treat other people that way. And I think that it's just such an important time to analyze our thinking, because it's very easy to just, grab a hold of what somebody else is saying and like, yeah, that's correct. I'm going to go with that. And it could be very negative, but you can validate your negativity by seeing so many other people thinking the exact same way. That doesn't mean it's correct. That just means it's really confirmation bias. Just like, even if you're looking up something online, you will find what you're looking for. If you want to look up bad things about somebody, you'll find that. If you want to look up good things about somebody, you'll find that. You will find whatever you're looking for. Same thing with your thoughts. Whatever you're focused on, that's what you are going to get. If you are really negative and thinking bad things all the time, that's what you're going to get. If you're positive, thinking good things all the time, that's also what you're going to get. So it can go either way. And the good news is you have control over that. You have control over your thoughts. People do not have to tell you what to think. They might try to, but they don't. Like, in the end, you get to decide. So don't fall victim to thinking, oh, well, so-and-so told me to think this way. No, you are your own person and you can think however you want to think. So if you choose that way, that's your choice. Just know it is up to you on controlling your thoughts.
Absolutely. I mean, there's so many things there in wisdom. I mean, go back, rewind that, play it 3 more times, because Ashley just dropped the mic on that one. So, there's so many different things of wisdom there. And I think one thing to think about too is that our time is so limited here. So don't waste your time living somebody else's life of whatever they've projected onto you. Because I think that we all have a tendency to do that with parents, siblings, whatever the case may be. They've pushed something, towards you that may not be what you're meant to do, or may not be what you really want to do, or may not be how you really want to think, whatever it is for you, so don't waste the time living somebody else's life that they want for you, want it for yourself. Do something for yourself, because at the end of the day, you have to live with yourself. You have to live with whatever outcome comes out of that. So understand that that's the first part of this. And I think last week, I let my thoughts just go all over the place last week. It was a tough week for me. There was a lot of people that had a lot of hatred, in places that I was at. There was a lot of animosity. I was traveling a lot in the airports, and you can kind of feel the tension in the airport. And it's just an odd week. And, I let my thoughts travel on me. And so, to think that we're perfect is not the case at all. We're still growing in all these areas. And the thing is that I eventually caught myself, and I knew that I was thinking a certain way, but I also knew the truth too. So I could always go back to the truth of what it was. And that's not the same for everybody, because some people, like I said before, they don't know the truth. They don't know real reality. And it's tough to actually give yourself directions or get directions from somebody else if you do not know where you're at on the map. If you can't even pinpoint where you're at on the map, it's going to be very hard to get directions to go anywhere else than where you're currently going, which is probably in a circle, because you're going to keep on cycling back to the same thoughts, the same narrative that you've been telling yourself. And that's where we get in trouble.
Yeah. And with that, I think practice that I have put in place that's helped me a lot. I got this from Christmas Abbott. She's a CrossFitter. I don't know if you guys know her or not, but in one of her books that I read, it said thought stopping. So when you get those negative thoughts, you stop them. That's why the self-awareness is so important, because you would be aware when you start going down that negative rabbit hole that you stop it and you turn it around and you think about the positive opposite of whatever that is, or something else that is positive. Even if you need to stop yourself and say it out loud, if that's easier for you, if that helps you more than just thinking differently, that will also stop your brain from thinking the negative thought, because you can't think the negative thought and speak something positive at the same time. Your brain can't do that. So you're interrupting those negative thoughts. And I feel like that has been very helpful for me. I probably started that maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Whenever I first read that book from her, that's definitely the biggest takeaway I got from it. And it's helped me a lot in catching myself that, it is easy. When we've talked about this multiple times, it's easy to go down negative thought patterns, but to stop yourself and turn it around, that's what's going to help you out. Yeah.
And I think there's a valid question to be asked with that as well, is that how are you driven by the outside voices? With everybody coming at you with, believe this certain thing about, whether it may be diets, whether it be about politics, whether it be about whatever, it doesn't really matter. Whatever narrative anybody wants to push on you from the outside, how do you handle those voices? Does it make you draw inward? Does it, kind of make you go into isolation a little bit? Does it make you get a little angry and fight back? What does it do for you? And I think that's a valid question, because that's going to be determining the next steps of how you deal with, all the stuff that you're going to be taking on with trying to figure out whether it's a truth or a lie. Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to hold true to your values and what you believe. And that's going to be the toughest thing with outside voices. A lot of people want to stray you from your values. And that's one of the toughest things that we've seen, especially for this year, is that holding on to our values and believing what is true and what we know is true. And I think that, that's tough for a lot of people to hold on to those values and really walk that out.
Yeah. And it's important that you said that, because I feel like for us, and again, we respect anybody's religion. We're not here to push ours, but God is my source. Like, that is who I'm going to go to anytime that I feel turned around, upside down, whatever, not in line with the thoughts that I want to be aligned with and the truth that I want to be aligned with. That's where I start. And it's very funny, because we just got home from a sermon earlier today, and our pastor was actually talking about this exact same subject. And it was funny because we already had this planned before today that we were going to talk about this. And he said, what is your inside voice? Meaning your self-talk, not talking, softly inside, but what is the inside voice inside of you? What is that voice saying? And again, that's going with, what are your thoughts? That is what you need to pay attention to. And he also said that we do not have to wait for other people to validate our identities. And obviously, he was, because we're Christian, he was talking about, your identity in Christ and that we're children of God. But like going back to your identity, that's, that is who you are. And so whatever your identity is, going to that, sticking to that truth, because that's who you are and that's what your values are. And whatever you're thinking or saying or doing, if that is not aligned with that, then that's something you need to reevaluate so that it is in line with your values and your identity and who you are.
Yeah. And I think, another thing to kind of think about too is that I know that some of the people that are probably some of the most passionate people shout at everybody. They're shouting a lot. There's a lot of things that are being tossed around. They get very passionate. They're over emotional and they just continue to shout and shout and shout. Maybe even there's a boss that shouts a lot at your work or whatever. From what I've seen in my life, real power doesn't have to shout. The reason why I say it is I go back to thinking about there's a football coach of mine. He was an older guy. He was probably one of the people I've learned so much from during my football career. He was about 85 years old. And I remember I was running a play and I totally messed up the play. It was practice. I totally messed it up. He said, "Hey, get over here." And I'm like, "Yes, sir." And he's like, "So you know that you really messed up on that play, right? I don't ever want to see you do that again." And he's like, "We good?" I'm like, "Yeah, we're good." And he's like, "All right, get back out there." But I've had another football coach that screamed, yelled, cussed at me, and for the same type of thing in college, and I didn't get the same, and he didn't get the same reaction from me. He didn't get the same willingness from me. He didn't get the same, strength and stamina from me going out there. I didn't really want to play for him. And I think that that's the whole thing is that some of the most powerful people I've ever met do not have to shout. All they have to do is literally talk calmly and softly and deliver the message that needs to be delivered. And it's respected so much more versus the shouting, because the shouting doesn't get it done in day-to-day operations in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and I feel like that goes along with experience and wisdom. And there's a huge, huge difference between the two of those, because experience and wisdom are not the same. Everybody has experience, but not everybody has wisdom. Because if that were true, that would mean anybody who is 80 years old has way more wisdom than somebody who is maybe 50 years old or 30 years old. And that is not the case. The case is that we need to learn from those experiences to gain wisdom. And not everybody does that. Not everybody knows, has wisdom in their later years. There's some 25-year-olds that have more wisdom than somebody who's 90. And that can even come down to like emotional intelligence and EQ. Like there could be, 70-year-olds that act like they're 5 and 30-year-olds that act like they're 50 mature wise. So the main thing is do you have wisdom, or are you just going off of experience? Because it's the main thing is taking our experiences, learning the wisdom from that and applying that to our lives. And that's going to make the most difference in moving forward.
Yeah. And I think there is another Matrix quote out there that kind of goes along with all this too, is that you have to let it all go. Fear, doubt, and disbelief before you can free your mind. And I think that there's so much fear and doubt and uncertainty and disbelief in everyday life that is dragging people down, and they can never free their mind to actually think original thoughts. And I believe that is so important in today's society, that we are able to form and think our own thoughts and have our own decisions on certain scenarios and certain things going on in daily life, because otherwise you will never be able to free your mind enough, because you're always going to be taking outside information and making it yours. And that's not true. It's not true to you. It's not true to your values. It's not true to who you are as a person. And we want to see everybody win. We want to see everybody succeed. We want to see everybody think for themselves, because thinking is the hardest part every single day of your life. Because if you can't think, somebody's going to think for you and make decisions for you, and you're not going to ever be happy and truly happy in your life and truly happy going forward. And you'll never be able to have the hope, healing, and peace that we want you to have in your life.
Yeah, and while you were just saying that, Matt, it popped into my head, reset button. I feel like a lot of us need to hit the reset button right now. Hit the reset button on your thoughts. If you haven't been thinking good, it's okay. There's no judgment. We've been there. We've been the same throughout a lot of this season and before this year, because I feel like humans are just bent to think negatively, and it's to turn it around and think positively that is the hard work. And we all need to hit the reset button, not just on this year, because I know some people would love to hit a reset button on 2020. You need to hit a reset button on your thinking. Do it right now. Whatever you're doing, if you're driving, walking your dog, sitting at home, stop. Like, maybe if you're driving, don't pull over the car, but stop your thinking right now and hit the reset button and start thinking positively in the way that you want to think, so that you can be an example to those around you, because positivity is also contagious. I know negativity is very contagious, but positivity is too. And if you can make that change, other people will see your example and they'll want to know what you're doing, because it's so different than what they're seeing on an everyday basis that it will stick out to them, and it's attractive. Positivity is attractive. When people are complaining and groaning and being upset, you don't really want to talk to them. At least I know I don't. If somebody's like that, I kind of want to, turn the other way. But if someone is being positive and encouraging, that is somebody that I want to be around. That draws me to them. So hit that reset button, get your positive thinking on, and other people are going to be drawn to you, and you will be a positive light in the darkness.
Absolutely. And I think that that's a part of this too, is that there's so many people that want to play the victim. And honestly, I think that's a part of this, is that you can't play the victim. You have to be the hero of your own story. And when you could be the hero of your own story, then that's going to attract other people to your story, because so many people are playing the victim card and they're not a victim. They're only a victim of their own willingness to think the way that they're thinking. I think that's the only part of it is that they're choosing to have that path. They're not choosing a different path. So when you choose a different path and you become the hero of your own story, not only can you walk and talk the game, you can do everything you want to with your life, because there's not going to be anybody that can stop you from achieving the next step that you want to do when you choose to not be the victim and play the hero of your own story.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I think, in just wrapping it up, that if you haven't seen The Matrix, go watch it. It was from 1999. Some of you might be younger than that. I have no idea. But go watch that movie. Or if you haven't seen it in a very long time, watch it. It will freak you out how accurate it is with what is going on and what has been going on in our world for years. And number 2, self-awareness. That's where you start, self-awareness. And number 3, go to your source, whatever that is. If it's God for you, then do that. If it's somebody in your life, do that. Somebody that, is consistent and positive and someone you can count on, go to them, because we all need to own our thoughts before our thoughts own us. This episode was helpful for you guys. Please share it, rate and review us, and subscribe. And until next time, own your life, because your life is your responsibility. Thank you all for listening. If this added value to you, please click subscribe and rate and review us. You can also find us at Own Your Life Co. on Instagram and Facebook, and ownyourlifeco.com. And as always, own your life, because your life is your responsibility.